Welcome to Lunch with Legacy Leaders, a weekly talk show with local and national thought leaders discussing issues impacting the Black community. Now introducing our host, Miss Anne Marie Sorrell.
Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Lunch with Legacy Leaders. I'm your host, Anne Marie Sorrell, President and CEO of the Mosaic Group. I am super excited about our special guest today, but before we get started with our broadcast, I'd like to thank our sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Thank you to Demesman and Dover Accident Attorneys, AARP, Florida Lottery, and All of Us research program at University of Miami. Now today I am joined by who I consider a friend, a supporter, and just a great leader in our community, Mayor Keith James, the City of West Palm Beach's mayor. Welcome, Mayor James.
Thank you, Anne Marie. It truly is an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So it's interesting because, of course, it's Black History Month, and we are celebrating with our current issue, Black History Month and leaders in our community. And you made history in West Palm Beach in 2019. So I just want to formally introduce you to our guest by reading just a little bit of your bio, but then we're going to get into what you've been doing since your election. So for those who don't know, Mayor Keith James was elected mayor of City of West Palm Beach on March 12, 2019. He's been focused on creating a community of opportunity for all. Mayor James has a vision for West Palm Beach that is resident-driven. Mayor James is committed to creating a customer-friendly culture in City Hall that focuses on neighborhood initiatives, regional collaboration, and community partnerships. He's the city's first African-American strong mayor, whereby the mayor is the city's chief executive officer, directing the administrative structure, and the city's fourth African-American mayor. And of course, prior to being mayor, Keith James also served as District 4 City Commissioner from 2011 to 2019. And he's held many other roles, such as past president of the Palm Beach County League of Cities. He has a very vast legal background as well, and so much more. So I'm not going to dive all into it. If you want to learn more, of course, you can visit the City of West Palm Beach and check out the mayor's full bio. But let's get started with our discussion, Mayor James.
Absolutely.
So since being elected, and you have had some definitely difficult times with the pandemic and so many other things, but I want you to share with us some of the highlights of your mayorship since being elected.
Thank you. And that's a very good question. I think our response to COVID is probably a highlight. Again, we didn't have a playbook. There was no COVID playbook that was left on the shelf in the mayor's office when I started day one. So we were really reacting on the fly, and our primary focus was to provide services. There are so many people in need. And so we, as a city, had to basically do whatever we could to respond to those cries for need. And I'm proud of the job that we did in responding to the challenges of COVID. And I like to tell people that, COVID was like 1918, which was the last great pandemic that we had, 1928, which was the inception of the Great Depression, in 1968, which is when we had tremendous cries for social justice. We certainly had a public health issue, but we also had an economic crisis on our hands. And then, of course, we had cries for social justice, not only in the streets of West Palm, but in the streets literally throughout the world.
Absolutely. Well, you definitely have worked with the city to make sure that all the residents' needs have been met. So I know you just recently delivered a State of the City address with the Chamber of Commerce. And so many of our viewing audience here may not have been a part of that particular address. And so I wanted to see if you could share with us, what's the state of the city as it relates to the City of West Palm Beach? And, we can talk about some of the highlights as it relates to economic development, the financial strength. Are there any hot or emerging industries that West Palm Beach is focused on or is attracting, public safety, procurement opportunities, and more?
Well, that is certainly a lot to unwrap, Anne Marie, but I'll do the best I can to try to do it in order. First of all, we were honored to have delivered our State of the City address in front of more than 750 people. But we had a lot to say. But in a nutshell, the state of the city of West Palm Beach I'm happy to say is very, very, very strong. Let me identify some of the highlights that your audience might be interested in. In the economic development space, we relocated 12 companies to West Palm Beach, or they expanded into West Palm Beach and added more than 1,300 highly compensated jobs to the city. During fiscal year 21, our building permits alone, we posted $3.9 million in business tax receipts, meaning that there were businesses that were growing, that were establishing, that were looking to do business in our city. Building permit revenues increased 6 consecutive quarters. All of that to say, there was a tremendous amount of economic activity going on. We also had some significant projects that were going up. We had about $3 billion in projects that were either initiated or in the pipeline during the course of last year, including the Grand, which is an $81 million mixed income workforce multifamily rental development that is going into our historic Northwest, which is a predominantly Black underserved community. It's the first major investment in that neighborhood in years. From a public safety standpoint, and another highlight of my administration is I appointed Frank Adderley, African American, as police chief within my first year of office. And Chief Adderley has done a tremendous job. From public safety standpoint, we achieved a 16% decrease. That's a 16% decrease in crimes against persons in 2021, which is the lowest reported rate in 20 years. Murders decreased 22% from 2018. So we've done a tremendous job there. In fact, a couple of days ago, we just had a press conference where we announced a major crackdown on one of the major drug gangs in our city, called it Operation Goodfellas. More than 18 people were arrested, and we got a lot of guns off the street, a lot of drugs off the street. So Chief Adderley has done a tremendous job. We've invested $42 million in our infrastructure in our city, which is throughout the city, all neighborhoods. And but the big issue continues to be housing that is affordable. And when I gave my first State of the City address in early 2020, I announced a 503 initiative where I wanted to make sure that we saw 500 units of affordable workforce housing coming up in 3 years. We blew through that right away. Within the first year, we got more than 500 in. So I kept pressure on my staff. And when at the State of the City, I announced that we were adding another 100 to that. We want 600 units of workforce housing to come up before the end of my first term in office. So lots of wonderful things to report. But in a nutshell, the state of our city is very, very strong.
Wow, that's amazing. And shout out to Chief Adderley. That's a significant accomplishment for any city that struggles with, crime rates and gun violence and things like that. So shout outs to him for that. Now, when we talk about the future outlook, and I know that West Palm has gotten so much attention. I know, like, when Rosemary Square was changed its name, there was this big article. I don't know if it was by Forbes or one of the major publications that talked about West Palm kind of being the neighborhood to look at or the place to be. And so I just wanted to get your thoughts on what's the future outlook? What has been kind of the exciting attractions to West Palm as of late? Because it is a pretty quickly growing city, from my understanding, and unless I'm misunderstanding.
No. You're not misunderstanding at all. West Palm Beach is indeed on the map. Wall Street Journal called us Wall Street South. And so we have a number of companies looking to move here. But to give you some perspective, in 11 years between 2008 and 2019, we had no Class A office buildings going up. Right now we have 6. And it's the Class A office buildings that are attracting many of these companies. And so the growth curve is absolutely tremendous. But I've always said, and I say this to companies that are looking to move down here, I would consider myself an abject failure as a mayor if I didn't ensure, if I wasn't intentional about making the benefits of this growth inclusive, so that it covers all of our neighborhoods, all of our communities. We've had economic booms in West Palm Beach before, but unfortunately, there were still certain neighborhoods, certain communities that were left behind. So I'm very intentional about working with these new corporate partners coming to town to ensure that the growth in West Palm Beach is inclusive. But there is a tremendous amount of growth, and we're very excited. Another development that we're keeping our eye on, which we're very excited, I'm 90% optimistic it will happen, is the University of Florida establishing an urban campus right in our downtown. That's going to be a game changer for our city and also for residents of our city. Those young men and women that may be looking for job opportunities or educational opportunities, they will have a chance at this new urban campus. It's not going to do undergraduate. However, it will be working with graduate programs in fintech, artificial intelligence. They just announced a partnership with IBM right here in West Palm Beach, cyber threats. And so there will be a number of things but my mission, my vision for the city that I have articulated, and I repeated in my State of the City, is to make West Palm Beach a community of opportunity for all. Any young boy or girl, I don't care what their skin color is, I don't care what their ethnicity is, I want them to find something in our city that they can latch onto to help them realize their dreams.
And I love that. So I want to just kind of expound on that a little bit. What should or what could, particularly because our audience is the Black community. So when we talk about a Black community in West Palm Beach, I believe it's about a 24% or so makeup of West Palm Beach residents. With all this development, all this innovation, everything that's happening in West Palm, how does the Black community be a part of it? How do they capitalize? How do they prepare? What advice should we be giving to the community to even be aware of these opportunities and what's happening? But also, how do they be prepared? How do they get involved? How do we make sure that it's one thing to hold the development or the corporate community responsible, which that is super important. And I'm happy when government does that. But what's the responsibility of residents and community organizations?
Well, they have to certainly stay informed and advised. That means going, certainly watching the city commission meetings to understand what opportunities are coming down the pike, being involved with whatever chambers of commerce or neighborhood associations that they have, because we, the city government, we're doing everything to get the word out about these opportunities. If someone has a business, they need to understand the types of businesses that are coming, making sure that they are prepared to provide the highest quality of services or goods. And certainly if they have a business and a minority-owned businesses, certainly get registered with the city so that as we start publicizing opportunities, they're ready to hit the ground running. But the most important thing is staying informed through programs such as yours, and through observing our city commission meetings, reading the newspaper, going to chamber meetings, sorority meetings, fraternity meetings, and because not only is the city doing a lot to get the word out there, but these corporations that are coming in town, they're looking for employees. They also will be getting the word out as well. But you're right, the responsibility is twofold. It's not only our job as a city government to get the word out there, it's the job of the residents and the businesses that want to do business to receive that word and make sure that they remain informed and educated about the opportunities that are being presented.
Absolutely. And I know sometimes people don't understand why they should be connected or kept aware or keeping in touch with government, because a lot of times people only look at government like cities as this is where I go to pay my water bill, or this is where I may go for a permit, or, more city services, but they don't think of cities as, cities bringing additional opportunities. I don't think they think of cities as an economic driver or economic catalyst. And so I know there's a huge education that has to continue to happen especially within our communities on these different matters.
Well, as I mentioned before, when we were talking about some of the highlights of what's going on here, I mentioned that there are probably $3 billion in projects that are in various stages of of completion in our city. 3 billion, that's a billion with a B. Okay,
Yeah.
that should tell you something there that those are projects that will be coming out of the ground within the next 12 to 24, 18 months. And so now is the time for people to understand what those projects are and how can their particular personal or business interests fit in with benefiting from those projects that are coming out of the ground. The historic Sunset Lounge is one that's in the historic Northwest. There are many more. And so listen, if folks have questions, they could certainly email me, kjames@wpb.org, and I will put you in touch with the appropriate staff person that could give people a laundry list of those projects that are in place and those industries that we're looking to do. Because again, I'm very intentional about ensuring that the benefits of this growth spread throughout my city to all of those neighborhoods that have historically been left behind. But people have to be ready. They have to be ready, as Bishop Jake says, to take advantage of those opportunities as they're presented.
Absolutely. So, with that being said, you talked about some of the different initiatives. Super excited to learn more about this project with the University of Florida. Are there any specific initiatives or anything near and dear to your heart that you want to highlight for our listeners that's coming up? Any events or initiatives?
I tell you one thing that I'm very excited about, and I called it the Mayor's Jumpstart Academy. And this is designed to help develop entrepreneurs of color. And so we're going to kick this off probably in mid to late March. And what it is, it's identifying people who want to own their own business. It is going to have 2 phases. The first phase is as we get those folks who want to be involved, we're working with a consultant that will take them through a period of financial literacy classes, okay? And once they complete that, then we will move them into another phase of the program where we are working with a company called Co-Starters that will help them understand what it is to own your business, how to do a business plan, how do you keep your financial records. And so we'll probably have 10 to 12 in the first cohort. And once they get through that process, we're going to be dangling a low interest loan or a grant even of a pretty significant amount, probably between $5,000 to $10,000 that they can then receive to start their own business or to build their own business. And my job in that is I've got to go knock on doors of these various corporations and say, listen, I've got this great program here. All the studies will tell you the best way to narrow the wealth gap between majority community and the minority community is by having a healthy entrepreneurial ecosystem. So to me, it's very important to have a group of entrepreneurs of color who are well-trained and well-positioned to run their own business, because whatever that business may be, listen, we all know folks who have a side hustle, whether you're doing hair, whether you're cooking food in the kitchen to sell on the weekends, sweet potato pies, pound cake, whatever. Oh, God bless you, it's almost lunchtime. But anyway, people have the side hustle. I want them to be able to have the education and the knowledge to convert that side hustle into an actual business, okay? So the Mayor's Jumpstart Academy, you could go to our website, wpb.org, and learn more about the Mayor's Jumpstart Academy. And the seed funding for this was through a program by Mitch Landrieu, the former mayor of New Orleans. He has something called the E Pluribus Una organization, and they awarded me as the mayor of West Palm Beach $75,000 to get this off the ground. And so I'm excited to do that. And so I'm very excited about that. But we have a number of other programs through Frank Hayden, who is head of my office of economic opportunity, which I started. And we're also going to have a loan program for small businesses as well, microloans. So a number of things, again, as I continue to work to make West Palm Beach a community of opportunity for all.
Well, thank you, Mayor. And you did say as you continue to work. Now, I know we're probably about a year shy of re-election. Do you plan on seeking a second term, sir?
Absolutely. I've already announced my intent to run for a second term. In my view, there's still a lot of unfinished business. And what I'm telling folks is that we need to maintain the momentum of this magical moment. All right. Opportunity it doesn't come along every day. And so we are at an inflection point in this city's history. And let me, I hope the voters will allow me to finish the work that I've started because there is yet work to be done. But brighter days are ahead for the city as we become a community of opportunity for all. And I've started it. Let me finish it. Let's maintain the momentum. But thank you for bringing that up. Yes, I'm up for re-election in 2023.
Well, it's always important to understand what the future of a city holds, especially a city that's growing as fast as West Palm Beach. If there's going to be continuity or if there's, longevity, all of those things play a factor when it comes to stability. So it was just a curious question that was on my mind, and I'm sure it might have been on other people's mind as well. So I just want to give you an opportunity. If there's any advice or golden nugget or any takeaway you'd want to leave with our listening audience.
Well, one thing I mentioned the University of Florida, but considering the makeup of your audience, I also want to mention FAMU is also coming to West Palm Beach and doing a partnership here with us. They're going to operate 3 community gardens. They're going to be involved in educating our children about agriculture and that type, and that has also attracted attention from the private sector. Florida Crystals wants to get involved with that. So that's 2 major universities in our state that see something in West Palm Beach and said, you know what, we need to be down there. So FAMU will also be part and helping us, and we're setting up the community gardens in some of these urban food deserts in our cities. So very excited about that. But the main takeaway I would have for your audience is to be educated about the opportunities that are coming down the pike so that you can take advantage of those opportunities. And also, I can't ignore this, register to vote and vote in municipal elections. It is so important. People often ignore that and go for the state races, governor, et cetera, or the federal races. But ladies and gentlemen, as the mayor of this city, I have much more direct impact on the residents of West Palm Beach than the governor of Florida or the president of the United States. When your streets aren't cleaned up, you're not calling Tallahassee, you're not calling Washington, you're gonna call my office and say, I need my garbage picked up, I need my street patch, et cetera. So please vote in municipal elections.
And thank you for that facts, because we have March elections coming up. No, you're not up for election, Mayor, but there are so many municipalities that have an election coming up, I believe on March 8th. So wherever you live, please check your listing, check your supervisor elections website so that you can learn who the candidates are for the March municipal elections, and make sure you become an informed voter and vote for those who are going to continue to move your city forward. You made a great point, Mayor James. A lot of people do miss the fact that municipal government is really important to our day-to-day activity and our day-to-day lives. So thank you for making that point.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So stay with me just for a quick moment, Mayor James. Let me make some announcements before we close out. And I definitely appreciate you joining us this afternoon and taking time out of your very busy schedule. And I'm sure it's super busy just with some of the highlights that you've mentioned here today. So thank you again.
But thank you for having me. It's been an honor. I'm happy to return anytime.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we're going to have you back because I want to dive into some of those other initiatives that you have coming up. So we'll definitely, I'll talk with your team and we'll definitely have you back in the future so we can get more information for sure, or even have some of your team members come back to give us specific updates on some of those programs. I think that would be wonderful.
Absolutely.
So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Let me just go through a few announcements. Of course, I want to thank our sponsors again, Demesne and Dover Accident Attorneys, AARP, the Florida Lottery, and All of Us Research Program at the University of Miami. Also, from our local partner, Broward College, if you're looking for a higher paying job, start your life-changing career in 2 years or less with Broward College's Fast Track Certification Program. Training is available for South Florida's top earning industries, and I'm talking about top earning. And you can learn more at broward.edu/fast track legacy or call 954-306-9085. Also, nominations are open for South Florida's most powerful and influential business leaders. You can submit your nominations for whoever you think is powerful and influential in the business community to MIA Media GRP, that's miamediagroup.com/nominations. And also, while you're there at MIA Media Group, please check out our current issue of the Black History issue. Lots of content pack information in our current issue. And of course, as you know, we have a show for everyone. So please tune in to our show lineup. On Mondays, we have The Business of Black Business at 1 p.m. with Jay Reynolds. Tuesday, My Money, Your Money at 7 p.m. with Bridget Lumpkins. Wednesday, Soul, where we're discussing culture, art, music, fashion at 7 p.m. with Nikki Jellin. And on Thursdays, of course, yours truly at noon with Lunch with Legacy Leaders. And 7 p.m., you want to definitely know what's happening with South Florida's top Black restaurants with Chef Irie. So please continue to tune in and be a part of Lunch with Legacy Leaders. As always, share this video. Someone will get some great information from it. Thank you again, Mayor, for joining me this afternoon.
Truly a pleasure.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you next Thursday at noon.
Thank you.